What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexus. Today we're going to carry on with our championship score predictions. We made it to week 35 incredibly. So after this game week we would have only 10 games left from each championship side. It is insane how quickly this championship season is going. Just as a heads up, I won't be making a midweek video because it will literally be days before I do my major exam. And things are going okay in terms of a study point of view with that. I'm feeling a lot more relaxed about it than I was last week. So positive things outside of YouTube, but today we're going to brush it aside, give myself a little bit of a break from it, and we're going to concentrate on doing some predictions here. You guys can always enter the Let's Football Prediction League if you predict the championship games in the comments down below. I deeply encourage you to do that. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too. All of these things really do help, and it is free to do. And sharing the channel as well will really be amazing as well. But without any further ado, let's start predicting this weekend's games. Let's start off with tomorrow's game. So we've got West Brom going up against Coventry, which I think is going to be an interesting game. Both of these sides are separated in the championship by only 4 points, 5th going up against 9th place in the table. So I think this is actually going to be a very close contest. Coventry will go into this game probably a little bit fatigued, as they did have a couple of typical starting 11 players playing for that Coventry side against Maidstone, but it's meant that Coventry have got themselves a quarter-final place in the FA Cup, which is a monumental achievement for Coventry City, no matter what opposition they had to beat to get into this stage. I think West Brom still, they're not really putting themselves away from like the chasing pack in that 5th and 6th place, so a dip in form for West Brom could be very critical at this time, so I think they need to win. As a prediction, I might edge the home side here, only just, I think I'm going on a 2-1 victory to West Brom, but I do think it'll be close. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Bristol City versus Cardiff. Of course, a local 7-side derby is always going to be a very interesting spectacle here. So Bristol City, they're still within the top half of the championship. Their form has taken a little bit of a nosedive since they did have an upturn in form when Liam Manning came in to manage them. But naturally, they have still been able to pick up some impressive results. And on 44 points, which I do think it's going to be very difficult for the top 6 now. I think a couple of weeks ago, it actually looked like that Bristol City, if they carried their form on, would have had a chance. It's going to be very difficult for them now. Cardiff themselves are not far behind. In fact, they're both on 44 points, which I think is quite interesting, actually, to see which one can get one better of the other. So I think it's going to be close. But I think, again, I might be edging to the home side here. I think I'm a little bit more confident with their options. As the prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Bristol City. I think it's going to be a very quiet game and a very scrappy game. But I think one goal may edge it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Huddersfield versus Leeds. Likewise with Bristol City and Cardiff, this is an early Saturday game. And a Yorkshire derby, which does tend to be a little bit hit and miss, I find, in terms of matchmakings. But this is a crucial game for both of these sides. Huddersfield at this moment in time, they're 19th place in the table. They're only just creeping ahead within falling into the bottom 3. They picked up some great form, I've got to say, Huddersfield, recently. But despite that, the teams below them are also picking up the odd win now and again as well. So it's making things very difficult for Huddersfield to get them to pull away. You know, they're averaging more for 1 point a game at this stage of the season, and they're only 2 points above the relegation zone, which is telling you the competitiveness within most of the teams in that region this year. Leeds themselves, they've got huge competition on their hands. They've managed to get a bit of a gap from Southampton with the fact that they lost 3 games out of their last 4. But Ipswich are still on their tails, and the fact they play first, they can really knock some real pressure onto Ipswich if they do get a win against Huddersfield here. Or it could have the reverse effect. If they lose this game, it could urge Southampton and Ipswich on, who play later, to potentially start closing the gap and maybe start overtaking Leeds. So it's crucial that Leeds get a result here, I find. They did play in the FA Cup, likewise with Coventry, against Chelsea this time. Pulled up quite a bit of a fight. I think all in Chelsea's downfall by the looks of things. But the fact that Leeds kept it competitive, I think definitely had a good showing. And it wasn't a fully strength Leeds side as well. They did have a couple of first-team players playing near the end when it was 2-2 for a majority of the game. And they could have probably thought they could have got something. So I do think part of that team could be a little bit fatigued. Huddersfield, I think, will be feeling a little bit more fresh going into this game. But having said that, I think the difference in quality is a bit too vast, personally. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 away victory to Leeds. I think they may edge things out here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is now to the 3 o'clock games. Let's go for Birmingham versus Southampton. So Birmingham had a pretty somewhat competitive game against Ipswich for most of that game when they lost 3-1 in the end. I think for the battle, it was 1-1 from the majority of that game, and I think did make things very, very nervy for Ipswich, who started pulling away when they started taking their chances near the end of that game. They're on 38 points, which sounds like that they're okay. In 18th place, you think they're okay, but it's only 3 points clear of Stoke City. So this bottom quadrant of the championship honestly could fall within the bottom 3, which tells you how competitive and how tight it is near that bottom part of the table. Southampton, they've got a huge response to make. Likewise with Leeds and Coventry, they also played in the FA Cup recently, this time getting knocked out by Liverpool in the end. So I do think a possibility, likewise with Coventry and Leeds, we could have a couple of first team players maybe not feeling completely fit going into this game. Prediction here is tough really, but I do think Southampton should be the keyword, go back into winning ways. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Southampton. I do think that they might be able to squeak something from this. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Leicester versus QPR. Leicester again, also played in the FA Cup, but this time actually qualified. They managed to go through with Coventry to the FA Cup quarterfinals. They're the only 2 championship teams actually in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and the rest of the sides are actually taken up by top half sides of the Premier League. Oh, and Chelsea as well. But yeah, we won't talk about that. But anyway, going back into these predictions, Leicester still, I would say, the favourites, but those back-to-back defeats has made things very, very interesting, especially if Leeds win their early game. If Leicester do slip up here against a QPR side who are fighting for their lives, they're only outside of the bottom 3 by goal difference, things could get really scary. I think this is not necessarily a very straightforward game for Leicester that most people may be thinking of here. A prediction here, I honestly think QPR have got a chance, but I'm going to edge Leicester still for a 2-1 home victory. But honestly, I think it's going to be very, very tight actually, and very nervy at 2. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Millwall versus Watford, a London derby between these 2 sides. Millwall, I mean, what a win they picked up, and a crucial win as well against Southampton. You know, I don't think many teams or pundits would have backed them to get a win in that manner, but they did, and actually they really battled for it. And it was the return of Neil Harris, and this is exactly what Neil Harris is all about. I do think they may have made the right sentimental appointment at the right time. Had they even drawn that game, you would have seen Millwall in that bottom 3 and not Stoke City. So that win is really keeping Millwall ahead of the chasing pack within that region of the table at the moment. Watford, I mean, it's difficult to say what's going on with Watford at the moment. Their form is not great. 4 defeats in their last 5. Valère and Ishmael under quite significant pressure, I would say, as well. So I think if they do not get results, Watford, in their next couple of games, we could maybe see a change of appointment despite Valère and Ishmael signing a long-term contract near the beginning of the season. A prediction here, I think we might see Millwall start going on a run now. I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Millwall, but I think they can't afford to. I think they have to get a win here. Because honestly, I think that bottom part of the championship are going to pick up 3 points this weekend. So they really, really need to make sure that they try all they can to push themselves away. And I do think Millwall as a side are too good to go down personally. But I think it's going to be a very scrappy 1-0 win for the way that they do it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Norwich versus Sunderland. The Alex Pritchard derby, I'm going to call it. The Alex Neil derby. There's so many derbies you can associate with Norwich and Sunderland here. And I definitely say Norwich are the team in a better place at the moment. They are only 1 point off the top 6. So a good result here could see them in the top 6 after this weekend. They're unbeaten in the last 4 games as well. They did drop points against Blackburn. And I would say probably a bit disappointingly in the way that they did as well. Sunderland, I mean, they dismissed McBeal quite recently as well. And they didn't really get a managerial bounce at all. You know, quite the contrast. They lost at the Stadium Light against Swansea City, which I do think was one result that not many people saw coming, considering how poor Swansea have been on the road. So I do find Sunderland at this moment of time, they're going to be struggling. And I've heard the news about Jack Clark. He is injured for 6 weeks, which I think is a devastating time for him to pick up a long-term injury like that. A prediction here, personally, I'm a bit more confident with Norwich. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to the Canaries. And I think they could give them a good chance of getting to the top 6. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Plymouth versus Ipswich. For me, this is one of Ipswich's most tough away days. Plymouth have shown at home park that they are immense in their home ground. I don't think they're as strong as home since Schumacher has left. But still, Foster is still picking up some decent results for this Plymouth side. And he has managed to get them still, you know, around that 15th place in the table. And he's got himself a 5-point gap for the bottom 3. So Plymouth do have a little bit of breathing space, at least from that bottom quadrant of the championship. But I've got to say, if they do pick up a win here, it really wouldn't surprise me. Because Ipswich, each time I've seen them play Plymouth, which has been a couple of times, they've always made it very, very difficult. And I do think whilst Ipswich have improved their form, 4 wins in a row is amazing. And they're still joint on points for Leeds. I think the pressure really, really is on. And it really will show, do Ipswich have the stamina to go all the way with Leeds in the title race? I'm going to say title race. Promotion race, really, more appropriate. But you've got to think about Leicester dropping form as well. So I do think this game is really going to tell me if Ipswich can maintain the pressure, because I do think, especially away from home, I don't think they're as strong as they are at home. I feel personally Ipswich will drop points here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. That's what I see happening. I wouldn't even be surprised if Ipswich take an early lead, but then Plymouth hit back with a late equaliser, a bit similar to how it ended at Portman Road last season when Ballymoonba scored that last minute equaliser. So I do think it's going to be a little bit like that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Preston versus Hull. Now this is another game which is taking place like near the top of the championship. It is 8th place versus 6th place, so a bit similar to West Brom and Coventry. You've got to chase off the top 6 facing a team currently in the top 6. So it's going to be a challenge for both West Brom and Hull to see if they can retain their places within the top 6. And Preston have improved their form. I mean, turnaround in Preston's form is immense. 4 wins in their last 5. They're on 52 points, only 3 points behind Hull. So a win here would mean that they actually join on points with Hull City. I think they're going to have to rely on results going their way if they want to enter into the top 6 after this weekend. But they can really, really ignite some optimism of getting into that region of the table if they do win here. But Hull, they've also managed to improve their form as well. After a little bit of a tricky couple of games, they've managed to win 3 games in a row and drawing in their last game, which maybe was a little bit more of a disappointing result on their part. But I do think here, this is going to be really, really tough. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Preston are good enough to nick a point here, but I think Hull might be a bit too much of a challenge for Preston to pick up 3 points here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game is crucial. It is 24th versus 23rd, the bottom 2 facing each other. Rotherham versus Sheffield Wednesday. I said it last week, if Rotherham didn't beat QPR, they are already down, and they already lost to QPR. So for me, they're down, personally, and it feels bad me writing them off this early on still within the season, but 3 wins is quite pathetic, I've got to be real. And right now, if they lose here against Sheffield Wednesday, they will be, my goodness me, they will be 16 points behind them. They're down. They're down this already, I find. But they'll especially be down if they're 16 points behind 23rd with only 10 games left. I mean, it's going to be a tough one for Rotherham, I find. Their confidence has been completely shot. Sheffield Wednesday, though, have got every reason to fight. After 3 wins in 4, they are only 3 points off getting out of the bottom 3. So I do think hope is not lost for Sheffield Wednesday, and I think this game is a must-win for them. as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Sheffield Wednesday, which I think is really going to make things really spicy within the bottom quadrant of the Championship. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Stoke versus Middlesbrough. Stoke have fallen into the bottom 3 after last weekend, and they did have a pretty tough affair with them dropping down there. They lost to Cardiff, which is why they are in that region of the table now. And right now, it's difficult for me, really. Schumacher really still under some pressure. They did have a little bit of an upturn in form, but now they're back into this position. Can they muster the experience to get themselves out of there? It's difficult to know, to be honest. They're facing the Middlesbrough side, though, where they've been really patchy with their form. They can go 1 week beating Leicester City amazingly, but then they can follow that up with some really, really poor results. So I do find with Middlesbrough, it really just depends what version of Middlesbrough you get. So Stoke could profit from it, but it could be another situation where Middlesbrough will be up for it and it'll be really tough for them. As a prediction, I'm going to go for an unhelpful 1-1 draw, which I think will be unhelpful for both of these sides. I personally think Middlesbrough's chances of getting to the top 6 now are over. They are 12 points behind, with after this weekend will be only 10 games left. So I do think it's going to be very, very tough for them, unless they go on a 10-game winning streak. Then I think they'll have a chance, but I think it's going to be very difficult. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Finally, we've got Swansea versus Blackburn. It is literally your typical mid-table game, with 17th going up against 16th, both on 39 points, only separated on goal difference. And right now, I wouldn't say both teams are safe at the moment. They're only 4 points clear of Stoke City, so a defeat for either one of them could be quite costly if the bottom quadrant teams start picking up 3 points from this weekend. Swansea picked up a terrific result last time around against Sunderland, so because of that result, they have really given us a little bit more breathing space from the bottom 3. Blackburn actually picked up a really good point, I felt, against Norwich, and I think they actually really did battle for it, so I'm glad to see that Blackburn's performances are improving. As a prediction here, they've gone through a bit of a drawing streak, Blackburn, at the moment. They're not really picking up wins, which is ultimately what they need to almost guarantee that they're going to be safe. And I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, personally. I think that's how it's going to end. I think it's going to be quite unhelpful for both these sides. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So, guys, these are my predictions for the Championship. If you agree, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, make sure you predict your Championship games in the comments down below. I love to read them. If you guys enjoyed the video today, please smash that like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button and the like button too. All these things really, really do help. And please also share the channel too. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really, really do help. Right, I'm going to go back and do some tax revision now, but I will see you guys next video where I would have done an exam. So I'm going to hopefully be a little bit more of a chirpier mood, maybe see some streams as well. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.